Welcome to Sisflix, the podcast where we won't judge you for talking through the movie. Sisflix are the movies you laugh at, yearn for, and overanalyze with your girls, significant others, and now us.
We are your hosts,
Paola
and Nadhya, two sisters and designers who discuss chick flicks we hate to love,
tropes we love to hate,
and all of the aesthetic choices in between. Join us as we break down our favorite movies together. Hey everyone, welcome back to part 2 of our discussion on When Harry Met Sally, one of our most favorite movies ever, as evidenced by the fact that we cannot, for the life of us, stop talking about it. We left off with Sally and Harry at the Met in this gorgeous room with tons and tons of windows and lots of natural light as they discuss Sally's plans for the evening, and Harry finds out that Sally is going on a date. What does that mean for them? What does that mean for their friendship? He wanted to ask her to go to the movies, but is that even a date? Paola, why don't you tell us what that is?
He doesn't ask her out. He asks her to go to the movies with him. And she's like, no, I have a date. And then it got a little weird. I feel like she felt weird about telling him she had a date. And it's like, oh, does that mean something to her right now at this moment? And I kind of think they kind of just brush it off. And he's like, no, it's great that you have a date. You know, he's like happy for her. And then she tells him, you know, I think you should go out there and date too. And he's like, nah, I'm not ready. And which respect to knowing that you're not ready. He's like, no, I would not be good for anybody right now. And the next scene right after that is they're in his apartment.
Cavernous, massive, absolutely insane apartment that seems to just be the size of a high school gymnasium with 2 walls with gallery lights in front of them and windows that just look out onto planet Earth. Like, you can't. I get so upset watching this scene. His apartment's fucking incredible.
It is an incredible, the windows.
I live in what amounts to a container of dog food. And knowing that he was paying my rent 57 years ago, just kidding.
It's at least 34 years old.
That means that he paid like one good stiff handshake for this apartment.
I mean, he also had a good high-paying job, so...
Vaguely political consultant. Yeah, their jobs are friends level of vague, which I love when a movie doesn't focus on work because existing in capitalism is a hellscape.
But yeah, amazing apartment.
Yeah.
Beautiful fucking arched windows. And they're moving a rug around. Shout out to the friends that help you decorate. I'm your friends. Call me. I'll come over. I'll help anytime. Harry's talking about this like terrible date he went on. And Sally apparently had a date with some sociopath that tried to floss his teeth with her hair.
Absolutely fucking not. No.
Harry starts sharing about his unsuccessful date. And every time I hear this, honestly, it irks me because like I can see myself being that unsuccessful date. Because he starts off by saying, we go to this Ethiopian restaurant. And I'm like, ha, ha, ha. I'll just order 2 empty plates and we'll go home. Ha, ha, ha. Like joking because there's no food in Ethiopia.
You're not great.
Excuse me?
Not great. 1989.
So, you know, we're just lightly joking about the excessive exploitation of resources in brown and black countries. Yay.
By the white colonialist West.
It did not age well. It irks me even more today. I'm like, yes, I'm glad that she fucking didn't think your joke was funny.
Harry's on this date. She doesn't understand his racist imperialist joke. It's 1989. And as he's discussing this date, he's really just talking about like how he felt, right? So he's like, I just missed Helen. She said a bunch of things that reminded me of Helen. And I just really miss Helen. Like, I'm probably never going to see this woman again. And Sally's like, I'm sorry that it didn't go the way that you hoped, but like, you got to stay out there, keep at it, and you'll find someone, and eventually you'll slowly get over Helen. And she continues to say, It's hard to go out on dates with people. And you know what? It's hard to sleep with people. Like, it might be forever until we sleep with people. She's assuming she and Harry behave the same way as far as dating and like sexual behavior. Harry nonchalantly goes, "Oh, I slept with her."
Like, what does that have to do with sleeping with her?
It's the other stuff that was a big deal. It's not the sleeping with her. That's fine.
We couldn't hold a conversation, but of course we slept together.
And in that way, Harry and I are not that different.
So it's like, you know, the separation of an emotional relationship versus a physical relationship is like, for Harry, that's two separate things. I mean, he's got Sally for the emotional relationship. He just needs the physical stuff, and he's not getting that, obviously, with Sally. For Sally, you can tell by her reaction and what she says that they're not mutually exclusive. For me to be able to be physical with you, there needs to be an emotional relationship. She definitely puts that out there.
Sex is an extension of an existing relationship. It's not independent of a romantic relationship. So we've mentioned this before. Obviously, this movie doesn't try to be inclusive. It's like incredibly heteronormative, cisgendered, puts men and women in like very specific boxes as far as their behavior.
Upper middle class,
white.
The next scene right after this is Harry and Jess. They're at the batting cages. Harry's telling Jess about Sally, like, you know, and we're just friends. And Jess is like,
and he's pumped about it. Like, Harry's like, this is awesome. She's great.
He's so excited. And he's like, you know, I've never had a friendship with a woman that I didn't want to sleep with. And, you know, like, this is great. It's like I can talk to her about this and she can tell me about guys and I can talk to her about my relationships. Jess is like incredulous. Also, maybe probably because he knows Harry, he doesn't believe him. He's like, so wait, you don't want to sleep with her at all? He's like, what do you mean you talk to her about other women? And what? I mean, it, almost to the point where like Jess has never had a friendship with a woman, because he's almost like, how does that work?
Even more, Jess is like, well, you find her attractive. What do you mean you guys aren't sleeping together? And you like her personality and you find her attractive? You mean the two things you need to be in a relationship? What's going on?
Right. What's stopping you?
And Harry's like, no, dude, it's cool. We're chill, baby. This is great. And I'm befriending women. This is growth for me. I'm growing as a person. As he's saying this to Jess, in the next batting cage over is a child who Harry has a fight with.
Because he's waiting his turn. And he goes like, dude, like, hello, it's my turn.
This kid is like 6. And Harry's like, shut up, it's my turn.
And then he goes back to Jess like, what was I saying?
And Jess is like, you're growing.
This script is, and like the comedy is just a timing thing. It's not forced. It's just like part of the dialogue. It feels so natural and it's just like chuckle every time.
So good. It's so good.
So next scene, they're at the sandwich shop. Nadhya, what's the name of the sandwich shop again?
Katz's Delicatessen brands itself as New York City's oldest deli. The Google description says a no-frills deli with theatrically cranky service, serving mile-high sandwiches since 1888. It is the most famous remaining Jewish-style deli in the nation.
Cool. So still there if you want to stand on a 30-minute line.
And apparently get some really slamming like bagel and lox. I've heard that their like bagels and shit are really good there too.
So they're at Katz's Deli having some sandwiches. And I think the subject matter is like Harry's method of hitting it and quitting it.
Is not the vibe.
She's like, you're disgusting. And I'm so glad that we never were a thing, because like had we slept together, like I would have just been some other person on this hit it and quit it list. And as she's arguing with him, she ordered her sandwich, but like the whole sandwich is on the side. Like she just got the bread and then all the condiments are on the side. Because as she's
piling roast beef onto this sandwich.
She's just slapping it on as she's arguing with Harry. It's hilarious and like chaotic. And Harry's like, why are you so upset? This isn't about you. And she's like, of course it's about me.
I'm a woman. This is about women and I am a woman.
And you are a human affront to all women. She is a girl's girl. I'm with you, Sally. And he's like, well, you know what? They have an okay time. So ain't nobody complaining. And she's like, how do you know? He's like, what do you mean? How do I know what? How do you know they're having a good time?
Where's your proof? What's your sample size? What are the exit questions?
'Cause I know.
Because I can tell when women come is what Harry is saying. And what Meg Ryan is saying is, the fuck you can.
And he's like, what are you saying? Do you think they're faking it with me? And she's like, well, every woman has faked it, so. And he's like, well, they haven't faked it with me. And she's like, okay. Goes back to minding her business, apparently. And then just slowly starts building.
And this is probably what has become the most famous scene in this movie.
Absolutely. It's become one of the most famous scenes in pop culture.
Yeah.
So I read that this was Meg Ryan's idea. It was just supposed to be them talking about it. It was just supposed to be a conversation between them two. During filming, it was her idea to actually fake an orgasm to garner the audience's reaction, but to see how a man would react to that.
And also how believable it is.
Yeah, this is one of the funniest scenes in movie history. And it's hilarious because as she's starting, he looks at her like he's concerned. He's like, are you okay? It's like, and she just keeps going and getting louder. And what gets me is that, like, in true New York City fashion, everybody just minds their business. They might catch a glance at what's happening, but
they might take an interested quirk of the eyebrow. But listen, dude,
nobody's checking on her. Something could be happening to this woman. No, they're minding their business. She's fine.
Unless someone like falls out on the ground, unless someone gets shot.
If there's no bleeding, you're fine.
If there's no bleeding,
even if there is bleeding, you might be fine.
You would absolutely be fine.
Sally's good.
She's good.
We all everybody
Sally's
in
not
the
just
restaurant.
good. She's great.
She's great. Everybody in the restaurant is all good. So it's also the iconic I'll have what she's having because, girl, where you get that at?
Something about that sandwich. That meat tower with the condiments on the side. Wow.
And the discomfort in Harry's face is the payoff. This man is so uncomfortable and so wrong.
Like, comically, incredibly wrong.
And then she just goes back to eating her sandwich.
Yeah, because look how easy it is, Harry, you fucking idiot. It's fake. Like, what? Not saying every orgasm is fake, obviously, but just saying, Harry, you can't be certain. There's literally no way for you to know. I want you to feel that doubt every day for the rest of your life.
So now, after this, it's Christmas time and we know it because Winter Wonderland is playing in the background. There's snow in Central Park. Rockefeller Center is lit up. There's ice skaters at the park. New York on Christmas will always be...
It's an elite time of year.
It is an elite time of year to be a New Yorker and be in New York.
Christmas in New York is absolutely elite. It's great here. There's just so much to do. The decorations are so over the top. Like, there's a little extra cheer from time to time. There's snacks are better.
Jazz playing everywhere.
It's fun. I love it here, especially around Christmas. So we see Harry and Sally buy a Christmas tree from a corner Christmas tree stand. And these are more popular as you like go further uptown and it becomes more residential. And they both carry that tree up to her apartment. It's real cute.
Friends helping each other out.
I truly love friendship like that.
Then it's New Year's. So, I mean, we just kind of phase through Christmas. They just want to let you know seasons change. This amount of time has passed. They had each other through the holiday, however they celebrate it or don't celebrate it. Sally gets a tree, whatever that means for her. And now it's New Year's and they're at a New Year's party. So they make it clear while, they're at the New Year's that one, this is their first New Year's together.
Yep.
As friends. And two, that they're together because they didn't have their own dates. So they kind of had this agreement like, oh, I don't have a date. Oh, I don't have a date. All right, we'll just go together.
If I'm not married by the time I'm 40, we should get married. Just kidding.
Oh, don't bring that best friend's wedding shit over here.
I can't wait. I cannot wait. Oh, I
Fuck
can't
out
wait.
of here with that.
Just shred that movie for 2 hours. I cannot fucking wait. Go on.
And they also promised each other that if they didn't have dates for the following year, that they were going to try to link up again and go together as friends. So they're dancing. Harry has shaved, and I'm not a fan.
I don't mind.
I prefer Harry with the beard. I think the beard suits him. But, they make it a point to mention, Harry, you shaved, because then she's like, look, now we can dance cheek to cheek. And one advantage of having a short king around is that when you're dancing,
I'm
you
dead.
can snuggle cheek to cheek.
I really like this scene because it does something that if you've listened to us talk in other episodes kind of like about actors, you know, using their faces or using their body language more to communicate things than their words. Obviously, that is most of acting, is just the subtlety of like what you do with your body, what you do with your face. They both do this incredible over the course of like 10 seconds where it's like, now we can finally dance cheek to cheek. And they're pressed cheek to cheek. They're dancing. They're having, by their faces, a great time.
They're really enjoying each other's company. They're having fun.
And you see just 2 degrees shift in both their faces at the same time. Literally in the time it takes them to do one kind of circular rotation where their faces come back towards the screen and they're like, oh no. Something is no.
Something clicked and it's like, I'm feeling something and I don't want it. I'm going to ignore this. And they do. They actually, like, at the point, they look at each other and they know it, and it happened to both of them, and they know it happened to both of them, and they kind of just look at each other and the countdown's going on and they're completely removed. They're just like, let's get some air. And they run outside, and now they're standing outside in the air. Now it's 3, 2, 1, Happy New Year. Everyone's celebrating, and they're just standing, looking like almost dumbfounded, like
in
looking
a
at
daze.
each other.
Yeah.
Yes. And then they start to see everyone give each other a New Year's kiss, and they're kind of just standing there like, oh shit, what do we do now?
And the spell breaks a little bit when Sally's kind of like, oh, haha, like opens her arms to move towards them, kind of like, ha, Happy New Year. Ha, ha, time to hug about New Year's. So this is something that I feel like I observe a lot in older movies that is like not a thing in more modern movies where like they kiss.
They peck.
They're not supposed to think anything of it. We as the audience are not supposed to think anything of it. It's a little kiss, whatever.
Yeah, people don't peck on the mouth.
And I think in older movies, that was like a less weird thing somehow. Like,
well, yeah, no, adults don't peck on the mouth with it not meaning anything. Unless it's like you said, a parent-child relationship, adults still feel comfortable doing that. They grew up, you know, maybe doing that with their parents, but not like unrelated adults. I don't see that's
kind of. Yeah, like I feel like I just see more of that in older content where people are like kind of comfortable, like just kissing on the lips.
Right, it's not sultry. It's not like...
But like a quick peck on the lips, and anytime I catch it, I'm like, absolutely not.
Yeah, definitely not costumbre. I don't know. I'm sorry, I forgot the word.
Good word. So this part's actually kind of funny in terms of like the filmmaking because they have this little kiss. Again, it's a quick peck. They hug. The spell is broken, whatever has been going on. And they both just kind of start laughing almost at the absurdity of themselves. They have not said anything out loud about this weird feeling they just had. As they break, they both just like, ha ha ha, I'm so silly. Exactly. It's not what they say to each other. The vibe you get as the viewer is, me. And then they just blow past it. And as they're hugging, we get this like corny little freeze frame.
I don't know why we get a freeze frame.
I don't know either.
Was it like just a post-production thing? Like maybe something didn't work and they were like, oh, well, let's just do a freeze frame.
And I'm going to say something about this movie. So like the length of this movie, perfect. It is a tight 95, 97 minutes. That is just the ideal.
Unlike Sisflix episode.
Unlike any Sisflix episode you've ever fucking heard. And you knew what this was. A 2-hour podcast about a 90-minute movie. So
right after this freeze frame, we get another couple interview. This is one of my favorite couples because it's so cute how she's telling the story about how they're like at some type of social event and like she sees this guy and he walks across the room and it's not for her friend, it's for her, and she's surprised. The story is just the introduction. How is it that she says it? She's like,
I knew about him the way you know about a good melon.
And it's just so cute. And then the next scene after that, we see Sally and Marie are walking to dinner. And we find out that they're walking to dinner for Marie to meet Harry. And Harry is bringing Jess with him for Jess to meet Sally.
As they're walking to this double date, and we establish what we are walking into for the viewer, They do it in a way that feels very natural, but carries the right amount of exposition. In Sally's conversation with Marie as they're walking there, Marie's like, if you like Harry so much, why don't you just date him? Why are you setting him up with me? And Sally's like, well, Harry's my friend. I don't want to date my friend. You're both two of my favorite people. Why wouldn't you become each other's favorite people?
Mm-hmm.
Which is a lovely sentiment and rarely works in real life. Again, we're cutting between the women talking to each other, prepping for this date, and the men walking towards this date and like getting ready. And Jess asks a version of the same question to Harry, where he's like, if you think she's so great, why aren't you dating her? Why are you setting her up with me? And Harry kind of gives a version of the same answer where he's just like, well, she's my friend. I don't want to date my friend.
And then Jess is like, you mean she's not attractive?
She's beautiful. And he's like, then why aren't you dating her? Like, he's so just cannot
so
handle
confused.
this.
So they get to this dinner and it is an awkward dinner. You see Jess and Sally trying to kind of interact and find common ground.
And it falls fucking flat.
Jess mentions this author. He mentions Jimmy Breslin was like his inspiration to become an author. So Jimmy Breslin, he always wanted to kind of highlight people who were marginalized. And Sally, she's like against this. She's like, I'm not a Jimmy Breslin fan. And Jesse gets mad like, okay, well, he's the only reason I'm a reporter, but great, sure, we won't talk about him. Like, he gets pissed.
Yeah, he takes it very, very personally.
I'm wondering if it's because it's almost like a political difference. As a viewer, that's something I would have never thought to look into. Watching it older, I'm like, who is this person he mentioned? And I looked it up and I was like, oh.
I never looked into who Jimmy Breslin was, but I'm glad that you did because it's really interesting.
Interesting tidbit. And then on the other side of the table, Marie and Harry are kind of talking about their jobs that are completely unrelated, nothing in common.
Could not be more different.
They're like kind of quiet. They don't really have much to talk about. So Sally interjects and it's like, oh, you know, you're both from New Jersey. And Harry and Sally are just looking at each other like, this is a disaster.
This is precipitated by Harry making a joke to Jess, again, still trying to talk up Sally, trying to salvage whatever this day has become. He's like, Sally is a world-class orderer. Watching her order food is like a main event in and of itself. And Jess is like, I don't fucking care. And Sally's just like, yeah, I mean, I just like what I like and I want to get it the way that I like it. And Marie makes like kind of a vague comment about like, don't you feel like restaurants have become like too important?
Which she says like, oh, restaurants are two people in the 80s, what theaters was two people in the 60s. Which was a direct quote of a column that Jess wrote. And Jess is like, oh shit, I wrote that. And Marie's like, no fucking way. He mentioned something else that he wrote and she's like, oh, I read that too. Then they start going back and forth and you kind of get the vibe like, okay, they are on the same wavelength. Maybe they're hitting it off. The next scene is they're all walking out down the street together. And Marie pulls Sally aside like, yo, are you going to call Jess?
Because if you're not, can I?
And then on the other end, Jess is telling Harry, like, look, if you're not going to call Marie, can I call her? Kind of trying to gauge where the friends are. And like, they're not into the other.
Nope.
And they're like, okay. And both Harry and Sally answer the same way. No, I'm not really into them. But look, just wait a day or two because Harry is in a very sensitive place. Sally is in a very sensitive place.
Be polite about it. Be gentle. Just give it a couple days. Be like, hey, it was nice to meet you. Whatever. It's just not there for me. It's obvious to anyone with like eyes and ears that none of these people like each other except for Jess and Marie at this point. Sally and Harry are both very generous in the way that they are kind of like, no, I'm good. Like, you can get with this person if you want to. It's totally fine. And when I tell you 10 seconds after these conversations naturally conclude, Jess is like, all right, well, I think I'm going to get a cab home. And Marie goes, me too! I'm surprised Marie has both their shoes on at this point because the way they run into this cab.
With the quickness.
They immediately start making out in the back of this cab as it's driving away. Harry and Sally are left on the sidewalk.
Dumbfounded.
Flabbergasted. Dumbfounded.
Did that just fucking happen? So then we get another cut of an adorable couple who had an arranged marriage. I always look, the lady has like just like one white streak of hair.
It's very Stacey London of her.
It is very Stacey London of her. So after this, Sally and Harry are in like some electronics store. It looks like a Brookstone. So they're in this store and they're buying something for Marie and Jess, who are fucking moving in together. By now, it's the springtime. So, a couple months have passed, maybe 2 or 3 months have passed.
And these people are running towards commitment, okay?
Seriously. I mean, well, we already know Marie could not wait to be in a fucking relationship.
And I'm just going to say, dude, like my husband and I moved in together after we had been dating for like, I don't know, a year and a half. And I felt like we moved in together at the speed of fucking light.
You thought that a year and a half was too fast.
Absolutely. And I remember telling friends at the time, like, yeah, we're going to move in together. They would like stop for a second and try to mentally calculate how long we had been together. And they'd be like, you're moving in? It's been a year and a half.
Well, you guys were also young, though. I feel like when you're older, the time
compresses.
It does. It really does. Like, you know what you want. They know what they want. And it's like you spend more time together. When you're in your 30s, you're not waiting 2 years before you figure out if you want to live with somebody. No, we don't got time for that. Let's figure this shit out quick. So as they're in the store, they come across a karaoke machine.
Let's fucking go.
Y esto idiota start fucking singing in the middle of the store.
First of all, you're full of shit because we would absolutely fucking do this.
I don't know that in public I would like go down hard the way they were going in the middle of Sharper Image. So they go into singing this at the karaoke machine. And just as they're duetting, Harry catches his ex-wife Helen walking with none other than the man she fucking left him Harry for.
Yeah.
Let me just say, this man has to have a package of gold because he looks no younger.
Oh, you mean a penis package of gold? You mean a dick made of gold?
Yes, but I was fine with saying package, but
I'm
glad that you needed to specify that.
I wasn't. I needed some clarification.
Because this man looks no younger than 65 years old. Ira, what are you doing?
Helen, what was up?
It's so awkward. I honestly, watching this, I feel bad. I feel so bad for Harry because Helen has like this smug attitude about her.
Yeah.
Like she didn't break this man's heart. And Ira is ugly and an asshole as well. And I felt bad.
The subtleties in this movie, nothing is wasted, because one of my favorite fucking moments in this movie is they see Helen. Again, she is very smug. She's also a very beautiful woman. Harry is like, hi, Helen. Okay. She introduces him to Ira. Hi, Ira. He's like, this is Sally. Helen's like, hi, Sally. And how are you doing? I'm doing well. Okay, great. Helen and Ira leave. And Harry starts going off about Helen's appearance. Oh, she looked different. Didn't she look bad? She looked weird. She's been retaining water. I think she's put on weight. And Sally, like under her breath, just goes, I've never met her before.
I don't know.
It's one of my favorite moments because I'm like, oh, fuck, that's relatable. Like, one of your friends just being like, oh, don't they look crazy? Look at this person. They look insane. And you're just like, I don't know.
I've never seen them before. I have no frame of reference.
Harry is off kilter. Like, not only has she heard them singing bad karaoke to a show tune from Oklahoma, but it's totally spun him all the way upside down, fucked up his day. In a city of 8 million people, you're bound to run into your ex-wife. Again, relatable.
That always sends me because it's like, what are the fucking odds out of all the gin joints in all the world?
God damn, you walk into mine. Like,
seriously.
But the thing is, I will say, as a person who has unfortunately dated in New York, hey, Nadhya, how many times have you run into someone that you went on a date with? Because there's so many people in this city. It's so huge. Oh, yeah? 3 fucking times, buddy, on different dates. And it's just not anything I've ever needed. You know what I mean? It'll happen. The person that you do not want to run into, you'll run into. And it'll be on the day that you were just going to Target. Like, it'll be sweatpants, no makeup, hair is like in a ball on top of your head. Like, it's not going to be your day.
Singing karaoke at Sharp Image. So they opt to buy a plant to take to Marie. They just fucked the electronics. We're buying a plant. And they're going there to help him move.
Friendship is crazy. Shout out.
And they're having an argument about this coffee table. It's Jess's coffee table. Jess wants to keep it. Marie is like, that shit is tacky. Get it out of here. I don't want it. And then they start asking the friends for their opinions. Like, Sally, what do you think of the coffee table? And she's like, no, it's ugly. And they ask Harry. Harry's like, it's fine, whatever. He's like just disconnected. He's thinking about Helen. As they continue to argue about this, at one point, it's almost like he snaps and he turns around. He's like, you know what? Write all your shit down. Like, get your books together, because when you guys divorce, because it's what's going to happen.
Yeah, not if. When you get divorced. So, yeah, Harry's kind of like, again, discussing the happy occasion of these two people deciding to move in together and share their lives and their residences. He's taking that dark and sinister because he's feeling especially dark about having just seen Helen, reminded that his relationship has failed and that he's pretty much not over her, right? At this point, we can kind of deduce he is not over her, regardless of whether or not he's been dating. And Harry says, and we're going to quote this directly, his delivery of this is like so fucking spot on, of a man just fucking coming unwound. One day, believe it or not, you'll go 15 rounds over who's going to get this coffee table. This stupid wagon wheel Roy Rogers garage sale coffee table. Because not only did my man have to be like, your relationship's gonna fucking end and here's how you should prepare, my man had to insult the coffee table. He had to let everyone know that the coffee table was hideous.
And then Jess is like, I thought you liked it. He's like, I was being nice. And then barges out. Sally follows him out of the door. First, she apologizes. Hey, he saw Helen today. Follows him out of the door and confronts him for lashing out on their friends. It's pretty much like, yo, you got to get your shit together. Like, calm the fuck down.
Yeah.
You can't say what you're feeling at like when you're feeling it all the time. And he's like, next time I'm looking for a class on social etiquette.
He's real bitchy. Like immediately the first thing he does is like snap at her. And I've always loved this interaction, the way that it's portrayed in the movie, because the entirety of this argument lasts like a minute, maybe less. Mm-hmm. And he's snapping. He's upset. And he is just trying to say things that hurt her feelings. And he's basically just like, you're so buttoned up. You've got a rod up your ass. You're so fucking uptight. You never show actual emotions. Nothing ever bothers you. You're always fine. Trying to use her stoicism against her, right? And she's like, I have feelings all the fucking time, Harry. I just know how to fucking control myself when I need to, when I'm not in the right place. Like, your way of handling shit is like being loud about your emotions and sleeping around with everyone in the world. And that's not my fucking problem. Like, your way of handling shit is no better, evidently, than my way of handling shit, which is keeping it bottled up, and one day I'll die. So
but you know, it's almost like he had this need to like throw her sex life at her.
Yes.
Completely unrelated. But you know, in him saying like, you know, you're so uptight, you're always buttoned up, like, have you slept with anybody since you broke up with? And she's like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything?
It's true. She's like, that's none of your business, and it has nothing to do with anything, especially this argument.
Exactly. Like, where the fuck did that come from? You fucking slept with all of New York, and that shit hasn't helped you out. Look at you.
Like, you're not better than me because you've been sleeping with people and you think that that's a thing I should have done by now.
She makes it a point to say, I will sleep with somebody when it's making love and I want to sleep with them. Not like I'm out for revenge like you fucking do it.
Yeah.
One thing I do love about this is he said his piece. She went at him, said her piece, and he immediately apologizes.
Yeah.
There's no passive aggressiveness.
No.
They're not going to let this simmer. Like, okay, I hear you. I heard you. All right. I am sorry. Let's squash this and move on.
You're right. What I said was out of pocket. And I'm sorry about what I said. They're both angry. Sally's like tearing up. Like, they're both frustrated. She says her last thing and Harry's like, I'm sorry. They hug. It's just a great conflict because you get all of the pieces of it where he's not really angry at her. He's angry because he saw his ex and it made him feel bad. He's taking it out on her. She knows he's taking it out on her. She's trying to get him to calm down. He lashes out again. She checks him. And then he's like, damn, she's right. This is probably my favorite relationship in my life. And me being a knucklehead shouldn't have an effect on that. I'm sorry. Hug. Over it.
Love it.
Love it so much. A woman wrote this movie.
Oh, you mean immediate resolution?
You mean clear communication? Shocker.
With true comedic timing. Jess comes with perfect comedic timing. Jeff walks out holding the stupid wagon wheel coffee table to put it out onto the curb. And he's like, don't say anything.
And I'm just...
So you already know who's making the decorative decisions in that household.
Good. Love that. Love this. Next scene. They are back in Marie and Jess's fully furnished, fully moved in apartment with a big group of friends. They're all playing Pictionary. And we come to understand that at least a bit of time has passed. Both Harry and Sally are in young relationships with other people, like relationships that haven't been around for that long yet. But they do keep looking at each other and each other's respective partners and asking Marie and Jess, hey, what's his deal? Hey, what's her deal? So there's a really great directorial choice here that happens really throughout the movie where we cut between symbiotic conversations between Sally and a friend and Harry and a friend, where they are both essentially discussing the same thing in their own way. And often they agree. Here's a scene where it's Sally and Marie, and she's like, but what do you think of Harry's girlfriend? And she's like, oh, she's really nice. I mean, she's a little young, but she's like really nice. And Sally's like, yeah, I don't know about that. Cut to Harry talking to Jess. And he's like, what is up with that guy? He's so tall. What? Nothing. You are grasping at straws here, my friend.
He said he's hard to talk to.
He's hard to talk to.
He's
so
too
tall. And Jess is like, he's a nice guy. You should get to know him. We cut over to Sally and Marie, and Marie's like, Harry's girlfriend brought this like cheesecake or whatever. And Sally's like, Harry doesn't even like sweets. I know him better than her.
And then she realizes that she's like a famous baker in the area.
Yes.
Even though she's young, quote unquote, that was her dig at her. Oh, but she's a successful, entrepreneur. And she's like, Harry doesn't even like sweets. So they're just hating on each other's relationships. Nothing's happened between them.
I think it's very easy not to be jealous when there's no one else in your person's life.
Yes.
But as soon as they're with somebody else, you realize all the ways in which the way that you perceive them, that is their true self, they're not expressing to this other person, right? So like, Harry doesn't even like sweets. They might be a little bit
different with this other person, or this other person brings out a different side of them, and you're like, ugh.
Right. And so you're like, that doesn't make sense. The Harry I know would never eat a cheesecake or whatever because he doesn't seem to enjoy being alive. But like, yeah, like, or even with Sally, where it's kind of like, well, that guy seems really boring and Sally's better than that or whatever. It's their perception. They're kind of projecting their perceptions of each other and just being like, that person's not right for them. Hey, let's dig into that for a second. Why is that person not right for them? Because that person's not me.
Mm-hmm. You're right. Up until this point, throughout their friendship, they haven't been they haven't been in romantic relationships outside of like just casual dating. So this is the first time that you see them as friends that have like their own romantic partners, and they don't like it. They're uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
And they're like, wait, they're doing things without me?
That can't be a sign.
So I think that you're starting to see more of that shift. You saw it at New Year's and it's continuing to grow.
Even at this point, you can kind of assume it's summer. So it's probably 6 or 7 months later. After this very funny Pictionary scene, dinner party scene, after all of this merriment and fun and adult jealousy, we cut to the next scene where
friendship jealousy.
Well, Harry gets a call from Sally on the telephone, the kind with cords, and she is weeping. Like she is loudly crying. And Harry's like, whoa, are you okay? What happened?
He's never seen her emotional.
Ever. She's so upset. I'll tell you when you get here. I talked to Joe. Can you come over? Joe being Sally's ex that she was with for like 5 or 6 years.
That they broke up because
he wasn't interested in getting married or having a family, and she was interested in getting married and having a family. As soon as she says, I heard from Joe, this is one of the parts of friendship that I love, because the way my man shot up and was like, okay, I'm getting my jacket, I'll be there in 20 minutes. He gets to her apartment. She opens the door.
My girl is in a robe. Girl, you called this man to come over and you're waiting for him in a robe? Tell me you didn't know what the fuck you were doing.
Listener, if you haven't seen this movie, I just want to bring up one thing. She is indeed wearing a robe. I hear you, Paola. Nadhya, what does the robe look like? Is it satin? Is it red? Does it look like a kimono? Is it short? Mid-thigh? No, bitch. The shit is floor-length, fluffy pink bathrobe. You think someone's gonna get it in a fluffy pink bathrobe that covers their entire body like a cloak?
All it is a sash, baby.
I can't stand you.
As soon as you pull that sash, that robe comes off.
I cannot stand
robe screams easy access. That's it. I don't fucking care.
Sally's
fluffy
wearing tube
satin.
socks. Sally's wearing fluffy
There's
pink robes.
boobies under there and they're easy to get to.
There's boobies under there? Staying in. Sally, her hair is all jacked up.
You know what though? In this scene, I was watching this with my husband and I'm like, yo, this bitch is wearing a robe. She knew what the fuck she was doing. And he's like, no, she has tube socks. Ain't nobody trying to fucking tube socks.
He's not wrong. Her hair looks like incredibly jacked up, like she's probably been running her hands through it. In addition to her hair looking jacked up, you can tell that she's gotten like a fresh perm, like what would amount to a fresh like set of curls are in her hair in a way that they haven't been for the entire movie. So her hair is like properly curly right now, instead of just kind of being like shaggy and voluminous the way you would expect regular 80s hair to be. I don't like it. It's not a look that suits her, I think.
I think they did it to make her hair look more undone.
Yeah.
Oh, you know how curly equals undone?
Yeah, it's messy. She answers the door with a tissue already held up to her nose. There is mascara running all down her face. Her hair is jacked up and she looks like shit. And she's just like, come in.
Right, I'll take my robe comment back.
Yes, correct. Thank you. She's like, come in. I can't. And she just like is like sniffling, loudly crying, takes every single tissue and just tosses it in a ball behind her back after she uses it one time. Could not be me. And Harry is very patiently listening to Sally as she paces back and forth in front of him, telling him what the fuck went down with Joe. Okay. Sally gets a phone call from Joe where he's basically like, hey, how are you doing? How have things been? And she's like, I mean, I'm doing pretty okay. How are you? Is everything good? Cool. I don't really know why you're calling me, though. What's up? And he's like, I just wanted to let you know so you heard it from me and not from Instagram. JK, we didn't have that. So you heard it from me. I am getting married. And Sally's like,
dun, dun,
what?
Skirt.
Because at this point, Sally and Joe have probably been broken up for close to a year, but not quite. Maybe like 10 months or so. Again, this is like a 5-year relationship. So that's a long relationship and not a ton of time to be fully getting over it, jumping into a relationship with another person. He's getting married. It's a receptionist who worked at his law firm. Her name is Kimberly, and Sally's very upset by that. We realize that the reason that she is so bent out of shape about this is because it was easier for her to handle her breakup when she thought it was just due to their differences on how they wanted their futures to look. When it was like, you don't want a family and I do, this is easy. It's not because you don't like me as a person. It's not because I don't like you as a person. It's because our futures will look different from each other and we shouldn't compromise on that. We should break up. Now, what she's learning, because Joe is getting married, and something that she vocalizes to Harry is, it's not that he didn't want to get married. It's that he didn't want to marry me. And that, first of all, relatable as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
But also,
because you automatically like, what did I do? I'm the problem? I'm the reason it didn't work out. And then she starts to list all these things that to her are flaws. And I love Harry for this because she's like, I'm difficult. And Harry's like, no, you're just you're challenging. You challenge things. And that's good. then she's like, I'm too structured. I'm completely closed off. And he's like, but it's in a good way.
It's sweet because he's like, because the other thing about Sally that we've mentioned obviously a handful of times by this point, she's like pretty unyielding. And obviously sometimes in relationships that's no fun to have like a very hard-headed partner, but she's very much herself at all times and doesn't seem to change for fucking anybody, which we chef's kiss that. We cheers that. We toast that. So
absolutely.
The fact that at this point in the movie, 2/3 of the way in, she's like, these are all of these qualities about me that have been apparent the whole time the viewer has gotten to know me. Maybe this is why I'm not with Joe. Maybe this is what repels people from me.
These traits about her have probably been used against her before.
Yes.
In the language that she's saying it, I'm too closed off, I'm too structured, I'm difficult. That has probably been said to her and used against her in times like this, in times of vulnerability. And Harry is fully there to embrace it. He's like celebrating that of her.
He's like, these things aren't bad. Like, it's like a few steps short of saying like, well, the right person will love these things about you. There's nothing wrong with these. And if Joe couldn't see that, well, you know, fuck him. He's out getting married to somebody else. Sally says, she follows up this little speech by saying, I'm going to be 40. Harry's like, in 8 years. Sally's 32. And she's like, someday I'll be 40. And it's like a dead
end. The clock is ticking. And these are things earlier in the movie, her friends were projecting onto her. She wasn't even worried about that.
She was nonchalant. And now she's mad chalant. She's chalant as hell.
These are pressures put onto her by the people around her, not necessarily herself. And so in these moments of vulnerability, they come back to you and kind of like attack you, even though you know you're in the right or you know your reasons. Like, but those are the things that like repeat in your head in these moments where you're like doubting yourself. Like, oh, you know, so-and-so said this and so-and-so said that. Oh shit, maybe they're right. And one thing I think about also in watching this thing, she could have called anybody else. Back to what I was saying before. But
Bathrobe, yeah.
She got a single girlfriend. She could have, you know, but she reached out to Harry. And maybe that means something. But also, I'm glad it was Harry because he was the right person to embrace her and kind of...
He was the right person to not back up the lies that she's telling herself about herself.
Based on the conversations we heard earlier in the movie, I feel like her friends would have probably been like, yeah, you know, well, maybe this, or maybe had you done that, or maybe had you done this. Because that's how they spoke to her earlier on in the movie when the breakup happened. So I am kind of glad that Harry was there to help her through this moment of vulnerability. He comforted her in a way where she was just like, hold me. I feel it started off as protective because that's what he was doing essentially. He was protective of her, protecting her from beating down on herself. And he's giving her a hug. He's trying to reassure her that she's great. Fuck that guy. And then she just asks him to hold her. She needed more of that.
She got it.
She held him.
No, she got it.
Because they do this thing again where they peck.
Yeah.
He pecked her almost like in a friendly manner. And she went back for another one.
It's like he's holding her, he's giving her a hug, and she is snotty and unapologetic and weeping. I mean, her face is just covered in tears and moco. And she says something of like, oh, I'm sorry about your sweater. And he goes, it's okay. It wasn't one of my favorites anyway. Which is so funny. And she kind of starts laughing because it finally, this breaks her self-hatred spiral, right? So she starts laughing. He starts laughing. Again, this is something that is done without lines. Like, this is just done with their faces, their interactions with each other. Body language. And she's just kind of like, I'm so silly. I'll be fine. The absurdity of this moment is becoming apparent to me. He's kind of just like comforting her. He's there for her. They're hugging. And I think almost to break that moment a little bit, he's like, all right, little kiss. We're cool. Again, if you ask me, and with my bones, I can tell you with certainty. Hey, Nadhya, have you ever kissed one of your platonic male friends? Oh, peck, just right on the mouth for fun and friendship. Fuck no, I haven't. And if that's a thing you do, write in and tell us why. Because that's wild of you. Please. But like, okay. So, gives her a little peck. They're both laughing. She gives him a little peck. And again, the way that I'm reading this without words is she's almost doing like a little peck. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, peck.
And then he like kisses her again, but it's a little longer. And then she kisses him again, and it's even longer than that. And you can all guess what happens next.
Next thing you see is they have slept together.
They are in Sally's bed. They're both undressed. She looks very, very satisfied. He looks absolutely petrified. If he could teleport out of that apartment, he would.
So we famously know that Harry would have just
left.
All right, peace. And I think he's kind of battling with that because she's still in a vulnerable state. He can't pick up and leave right now. He would be the ultimate asshole. And I don't know if he's battling with shit, I want to go and I shouldn't.
Yeah.
Or shit, I kind of want to stay. What the fuck does that mean?
I disagree with both. I think he's like, I need space to process what just happened. It's not even like, I want to leave because gross, staying with a girl after sex, cooties. No. Or like, oh, well, I want to stay and it's weird to me. No. He's been married. I'm sure he knows how to stay. In the same room, bed, apartment as her, he cannot process what's just happened because how much parsing through your feelings do you have to do? And this is the thing. It's also quote unquote big because Sally has like, I don't want to say allowed this to happen. She has enthusiastically participated. But this has happened after Sally has made a point repeatedly of being like, I don't have sex with people unless I like feel something, unless I want to like be with them in a certain way. And that in itself can be like a lot of pressure if you're a person who doesn't operate that way, where Harry's obviously not. And the intimacy for him is the interpersonal, is his relationship with Sally. Now he's just like, fuck, this is big and I don't know what to do with that and I need to think about it. So he does spend the night, but both of them are already feeling awkward. This is something that actually does make me very sad when I watch this movie. They're laying in bed and Sally's like chilling. She's like, this was cool and great. I had a great time. And Harry is already like, I'm so on edge. If I was a grenade, the pin would be pulled out. Like,
he was so awkward.
He's already like, no. You would expect a role reversal, right? You would expect Sally to be the one fully overthinking, and you would expect Harry to be just chilling, baby. No.
You know that thing you wanted fucking 12 years ago?
Here it is.
I feel like had he maybe been more chill, she would have felt more confident about what just happened. She wouldn't have questioned it the way that she did. Next day, he got up early. I mean, he had to go to work, but she asks him, like, where are you going? Almost like he's leaving too early than it would have made sense.
He's leaving before her waking up. He's leaving without telling her he is leaving. That's uncool as hell.
And he's like, oh,
I have to run home and change before I go to work.
Okay, you know, seemingly normal, invites her to dinner. And then that's when she starts like, oh, shit, maybe we shouldn't have done that.
Kisses her on the cheek, departs awkwardly. We cut to a fucking incredible scene. Genuinely, honestly, truly.
Right immediately. I'm telling you, Harry walks out and calls from a payphone.
Because it's 1989. Harry leaves Sally's apartment and presumably is on the fucking corner of her block and pulls up to a payphone because he needs to talk to Jess that urgently. I love friendship. I love friendship so much. Sally calls Marie. Marie and Jess seem to have two independent phone lines, even though they live at the same apartment.
Well, that's how you get your own phone calls.
That's what you had to do back then.
You ain't had a cell phone back then.
It's early as hell. Both Marie and Jess are still asleep in their bed. They each have a separate phone on their respective nightstands. Sally calls Marie. Marie answers the phone on her nightstand. Harry calls Jess. Jess answers the phone on his nightstand. And yes, all of these phones have cords. Again, throughout the movie, we've gotten these cuts where Sally is having a conversation with Marie that is echoed in a conversation Harry is having with Jess, where they're both parroting very similar lines, but the vibes between the conversation based on the other person are very different. And this is the same. So now Jess and Marie are a unit, so they're going to have like a very similar answer and vibe to whatever Sally and Harry say. Sally and Harry are literally almost verbatim, and I know it's a movie, it won't happen in real life, saying the same things at the same time. Harry and I slept together. Sally and I slept together. And both Marie and Jess are like, oh my God, that's great.
Oh, shit, finally. Yes, you get the impression that they're happy for them. Almost like it's been culminating to this moment. Yes. And they're like, fucking finally, you guys fucking did it already. Good.
It's taken long enough.
Then you hear the insecurities on the other end. Like, oh, I think it was a mistake. Really? Why? What happened? And then they're both saying the same things at the exact same time. It is amazing.
You know, we're going to go to get dinner later, but I mean, I hope he says it before I do. I don't want to be the one to say that it was a mistake. And both Marie and Jess are like, okay, well, sorry. Like, I mean, I thought it would be good. Like, was it good? And they're both like, yeah, it was good. But like, I don't know. It's the after. And they're like, okay, well, you guys will figure it out. You're so close. You'll talk about it. And they're like, yeah, anyway, fine. I got to go.
Harry's like, I think I'm coming down with something. And then Sally's like, maybe I'm getting a cold. Like, they're just...
It's so funny.
After they're expressing like their insecurity about what happened, Jess is like, oh, it would have been great if it would have worked out. And then Marie's like, oh, you know, you should never go to bed with anyone right after you find out your ex-boyfriend's going to get married.
Not wrong, my girl.
Not wrong.
And if you're going to go to bed with someone, have them be a stranger. Don't make it one of your friends who you have weird romantic tension with. Have a one-night stand with a stranger. Never talk to them again. If there's anything you take from this podcast, it's a real pro one-night stand.
So... they leave this interaction still feeling very unsure. You see them getting ready for their day, and they have this inner monologue in their head where Sally's kind of like, oh, I'm going to tell him it was a mistake. And then on the other end, Harry's like, oh, it was a mistake. I hope she says it first. They're very much on the same wavelength. And really movie. Have the same expectation. Like, their expectations of each other are spot on. Like, they don't expect more or less than what the other person's giving them or is going to give them. I think it says a lot when Sally's like, you know, I hope I'm the one that gets to tell him first. And then on the other end, you hear Harry's inner monologue, like, I wish she's the one that tells me first. They know each other so well. They go to dinner. And off the bat, Sally's like, it was a mistake. I think Harry agrees too quickly.
Absolutely. He should have taken a beat and been like, I understand.
I think he was expecting it, though. That's what he was waiting for the thing, and the thing happened, and then he's like, yeah, you're right. Oof. Yeah. And it almost caught, even with her knowing that they're probably on the same wavelength, it almost caught her by surprise. She didn't like that he agreed with her so quickly. She wanted him to contradict her. She wanted him to fight for that moment.
Yeah.
And she didn't get that. And you saw that register right away in her face. And then their food came and they started eating. And then they just had an awkward, quiet dinner.
A terrible dinner.
You know you're having an awkward, quiet dinner when somebody's like, I love that we don't have to talk. Like, the silence is, if you have to say something about the silence, it's because the silence is bothering you. Yep. And you feel awkward about it.
Yep.
If you were comfortable in the silence, it would just be silent.
Like, I don't know what astrological sign Sally is, but I'm going to say Virgo or Taurus. I'm thinking my girl is an earth sign.
I can see her being a Virgo.
I could totally see her being a Virgo. I could also totally see her being a Taurus.
I have both in my life, and I'm very familiar with what it's like to partner them. So.
Agree. Like, I love the acting in this movie because it's done so well. And I don't know if that's just the actors organically. I'm sure part of it is, and part of it is the direction. But you see the shutters closing inside of Sally's eyes. Like, you see her power down on this with Harry. She's putting the white sheets over the furniture. The house is getting closed up for the summer. And Harry is deliberately ignoring that.
Then we cut to this jarring scene.
I'm dead.
Of Billy Crystal and Bruno Kirby, the actor that plays Jess, in fucking tights.
I'm dead.
Power walking. Not running. No. Swish of the hips. La negra tiene tumbao. Like, I feel like
The
I
80s
feel like
were
Celia
such a
Cruz is playing.
time.
Celia Cruz, La Negra Tiene Tumbao is playing in the background,
Damn.
and that's what they're power walking to.
Yeah, they're
Because
really swaying.
the swish in these man's hips.
They don't need someone to come up to them and tell them it's all in the hips. They already know.
They got it.
They got it. So, and the lycra, like them wearing leggings, is the worst part for me. But
Yo.
okay, it's the 80s.
And during this walk, Harry is talking to Jess about Sally. And he won't stop talking about her. He won't stop saying, like, oh, like maybe it was too soon. Maybe, or maybe it was too late. Like,
it should have happened years ago, or not at all, ever.
He's just like, he can't stop thinking about him and Sally, and he's got to break it down. So you cut to like 3 different experiences he's having with Jess, where he's talking through his situation with Sally. And then on the other end, you see Sally and Marie. They're at a dress fitting. So now time's passed. You're not really sure how much time, but Marie and Jess got engaged, and Marie and Jess are getting married, and now they're at Marie's dress fitting, and Sally's like not talking about Harry, but asking about him. How's Harry? How's he been? So now they're not communicating with each other. You learn that it's she who's cut off. She's not taking his phone calls. She's not calling him back. She asks Marie, like, oh, is Harry dating? Like, oh, yeah, some girl. Marie's dress
is hideous. That's all you gotta say. Her dress is so ugly. Listen, and I don't want to be offensive because I've spoken to people who are like, God, I love her dress.
It literally looks like she's a knight in like an armor. Like she's out of...
It looks like a Juliet Capulet dress. It looks like she is in Shakespeare. And Sally's a good friend, so she cries as Marie's getting her dress fitted because...
Sally's a good friend. A good friend would be like, I don't know that suits you. But maybe she really loved the dress. If she really loved the dress, you can just be like, girl, as long as... If you love it, if you like it, I love it. So Marie's wedding comes about. Well, their wedding comes about. And you see that Harry and Sally are on opposite sides of the aisle because Sally's the maid of honor. Harry's the best man. And they're just looking at each other very awkwardly.
It is awkward sauce because Harry kind of keeps trying to catch Sally's eye because he's just like, she has not fucking talked to me. And God knows how long at this point, like a month. Mm-hmm. And Sally is just avoiding because she's like, no, I don't want to fucking talk to you. Stop looking at me. I don't want you to look at me. During the reception, they're at this like venue that seems to be on the 50th floor of a building. And it's like a warehouse. Honestly, it's probably the same room where they then have the New Year's party, like at the end of the movie. So
it starts off at a church, though.
It does start off at a church.
The reception looks like it can be
in my office at work. Yes. Marie is wearing that Juliet Capulet dress. It doesn't suit anybody in the entire room, but especially not Marie. And Sally, her bridesmaid dress is like this deep green color,
which I like.
The color is gorgeous.
It's a gorgeous color. And then it has like that velvety, it has like a velvety black trim.
The dress is doing something strange.
It is. It's too long for her.
It is too long for her. It's like a T length. Don't know what that was about the 80s. It's got a slight drop waist, which Meg Ryan is really slender, so she can carry that off and be fine. I don't love a drop waist because it doesn't suit me, but that's a personal thing. And then it's got this like elongated stomacher of black velvet in the front that almost looks like it could be a bow, but isn't, but covers the front of the bodice. It's like not cute. And then it's got a sweetheart neckline. This is very 80s. And the puffy short sleeves, very 80s. The dress itself is made of this like moire, like iridescent almost fabric that I don't like. Also very 80s again. Not a big fan. Not a big fan of this dress. She has looked better. Moving on from describing her dress. We are still at this wedding. So during the reception, Harry keeps trying to have small talk with Sally, and she really does not want to talk to him. They haven't spoken in 3 weeks, even though it feels like it should be longer. You know what I'm saying? Like, Jess and Marie are getting married. Jess and Marie haven't even been together a year. Okay, we already talked about that. They're going to move a little more quickly. But they're already fully getting married at what seems to be kind of a big wedding.
It took time to plan, and I feel like there was no mention of the wedding prior to
the wedding. In the background of like their wedding, of all of this happening, Harry is arguing with Sally because she doesn't want to accept his like small talk. She just doesn't want to talk to him. And at one point they kind of start having an argument, and she calls him over to like a more private area that's like near the kitchen where the waiters are. And you know, she's getting loud. She's like very, very upset. And he's basically like, she's saying, you want to pretend like nothing ever happened. And like, I can't do that. Like, I can't go back to before this happened because now I know that it happened. And we can't undo it. And he's pretty much like, why can't you get past this? And she's like, you think it means nothing. And he goes, it's not that I think it means nothing. I just don't understand why it has to mean everything. And I always remember that line.
Why does it have to mean everything? Why couldn't it have just been a thing we did and then we can maybe unpack that and continue with our friendship?
Right. Can you explain that line that he says about the dog? I've never liked that line.
I hate this line. She's like, it only happened 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. How am I supposed to be over it?
His answer is like, you know how a year to humans is 7 years to a dog? She's like, yeah. And one thing I will say, though, like her willingness to let him get his thought through.
She is better than me.
Girl, as soon as he would have said this shit, I would have been like, the fuck are you talking about? Get the fuck out of my face. Our conversation would not have made it past that.
And she goes, am I the dog? First of all, Harry got that wrong. She's not the dog. He is, because he thinks the 3 weeks feels longer than it actually is.
Either way, I fucking hated this line. I don't know whose idea it was. I think this might be the only piece of dialogue throughout this whole movie that I object to. Oh, and the Ethiopia line. They grind my gears.
Not it for you.
He's the fucking dog. And she's like, you're the dog. And here's when Harry is pretty much like, look, for the record, I didn't go over there to make love to you. But you were essentially like,
he's pushing the responsibility onto her. He's like, you called me. You were looking at me with your big eyes. You were just crying. And it's like, are you joking? That when somebody's upset, crying, they're clinging to you, they need support. Oh, is that the time to fuck? Get out. Scram. And Sally's reaction is fucking perfect, which is slapping him in the fucking face.
No, and she's like, so you took pity on me? Like, you felt that you needed to comfort me with your penis so that I feel better about
my ex getting married. Some bullshit, that is. Some bullshit, that is.
Isn't it?
Isn't it?
You know, so this scene I really hate for the both of them, honestly.
Yeah, it's painful.
Yeah, they could not come to an understanding. I think at this point, they're blaming each other. Like you said, like he's putting the responsibility of that vulnerable moment onto her. And then she's blaming him for falling back. Mm-hmm. Where it's like, just say what you want. So right after this slap, it's again another point in the movie where it's just the comedic timing of shit. The timing of shit is what makes it funny. Right after this, Jesse and Marie are making a toast to Harry and to Sally, forcing them out of the situation. And now they got to stand in front of the whole wedding
like
together,
150 people.
And join Marie and Jess for this toast for them. And it's so uncomfortable. They do not want to be there.
And of course the toast is like a little bit fucking insulting because how would it be a wedding toast if it wasn't making fun of someone? Being like, oh, you know, we just want to say thank you to like Harry and Sally, because if either of us had been remotely interested in either of them, we wouldn't be standing here today. Bitch, if y'all don't shut the fuck up, you like your fucking friends. Like, that was so rude.
Just thank your friend and that's it.
It was salt on the wound of like, they're already having this disagreement. They are already like basically quote unquote breaking up, doing a friend breakup, because for all intents and purposes, they were acting like they were together, and then they slept together. And the salt on the wound of that is now needing to go up during this fucking toast, pretend that you guys are still friends, and then pretend it's funny that other people don't fucking like you.
So next thing we see Sally buying her Christmas tree, the same spot she bought it the year before, except this time she's by herself and it's a struggle. Like, she can't get the tree up, but she figures it out, and she figures out a way that she can pull the tree up the street on her own. I almost feel like it's a metaphor showing like, yeah, it's hard to be on your own, but you got this. She's got this. She's going to pull through. She's going to do what she's got to do to keep it moving. I don't know if she's on a 5th floor walk up, if she's on a 1st level. We're not sure. But she gets this tree up into her apartment.
Yo.
By herself.
Strong, independent woman.
Poor tree, though. Like, it must have been, it must have gone through. That tree shed.
It looks like the Charlie
so
Brown
much.
tree. Like, it got up there and it was just like,
As she's walking in with the tree, there's a voicemail being recorded. It's Harry calling her. He's just like, hi, it's the holiday season, and I thought that I should just remind you that this is the season for charity and forgiveness. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like he wants to apologize, but he needs to do it comically. It can't be too serious. It is also the season of groveling. Mm-hmm. So if you felt like calling me back, I'd be more than happy to do the traditional Christmas grovel. Give me a call.
But
Harry's harrying.
Harry is harrying.
And you see this throughout a couple scenes where he's calling and she's letting it go to voicemail. She doesn't want to talk to him. She's done. Mm. At some point, he's out with Jess and he's telling Jess about him trying to reach out to Sally. He's pretty sure at this point that she does not want to talk to him. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and he's trying to be a tough guy. You know, if she wants to call me, she'll call me. Like, it's not a big deal. I feel like Why did you make that face?
Because if she wants to call me, she'll call me. I'm going to grab some coffee. Get ready for her to call me.
My bad. So he's trying to be tough with Jess. I feel like I'm making a schmuck out of myself. And the direct next cut is him leaving her a song on the voicemail.
Which is objectively very funny.
Sally hears this as she's on her way out of the door. And you think she's going to ignore it because he sounds ridiculous. But I guess the Harry charm got to her and she picked up and is like, what do you want? And if you ask me, this is the perfect opportunity for you to apologize profusely.
Correct.
However, Harry does say a quick, I just wanted to say I'm sorry. And Sally's like, okay. And
love that.
And, right? Because you have more things to say, right?
God, I fucking love that.
You're not just squashing this with a little fucking, I'm sorry, right?
Fucking love Sally.
And when she hears nothing else from him, she's like, I gotta go. You're obviously not serious about this apology you want to give me. I gotta go. And he's like, but wait. Look, remember last year when we said we would be each other's dates if we didn't have dates for New Year's Eve? Come to this New Year's party with me because I don't have a date. Motherfucker.
Yeah.
First, you can't get a proper apology out. You can't explain yourself. You can't talk about your feelings. And now you're inviting me out as a plan B. Now I'm your plan B New Year's Eve date. Fuck you.
She's like, I'm not your consolation prize.
And I love that she says that.
Yeah. This really synthesizes what we were talking about earlier, right? Which is like, you treat me like your girlfriend without being your girlfriend. And no, you don't get to do that. I'm not the person you hang out with because you're alone or because you're sad. I'm the person you hang out with because you want to. I'm not the person who's there at the end of the day because everybody else has gone home. Like, that's fucked up. It's like Sally's really, again, written by a woman. Like, Sally is just taking ownership of who she is and drawing a pretty hard boundary at the behavior that she's willing to accept.
I can't do this shit anymore with you. Goodbye.
Obsessed.
And she hangs up.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's New Year's Eve and Harry's home by himself watching Dick Clark's 16th annual New Year's Rockin' Eve. As he fucking should, because he's an asshole.
Boo!
Sally is at a New Year's party that she was originally going to. This is the New Year's party that Harry was inviting her to for them to go together. Mm-hmm. So she ends up going to the New Year's party by herself. She's dancing with some bland dude.
Yeah.
Not having a great time.
Yeah. She's having a bad time.
She's having a very bland time.
I also just want to call like very mild attention to her dress in this scene. It is hideous. Okay, continue.
Glad we cleared that
and
up.
There's that hard-hitting fashion commentary that you come to the Sisflix podcast for. Because Sally's dress, am I going to tell you what kind of dress it is? Am I going to tell you what year it's about? How the color looks? No, it's hideous.
That's all. One word.
Full stop, period.
Having a very unseasoned chicken kind of time. We come...
Oh my God.
Then we come back to Harry, and now he's decided he needs to go for a walk. He's out alone in the empty city streets of New York on New Year's Eve. Everybody's at a fucking party. Although, well, question, New Yorker, are the streets on New Year's Eve this empty? I feel like people are probably moving from place to place.
People are still moving from place to place. Anytime you see a movie and New York is abandoned, it's a lie. Period. There are always people around, but are the streets kind of like suspiciously less populated than normal because it's usually brick ass motherfucking cold on New Year's Eve?
But he's in a light jacket.
He's wildin'. What he's doing.
He's in a light jacket.
Nah, he's wildin'.
Like he sees people and they're like in blazers. Like nobody's in a winter coat.
He's wildin'.
They wildin'. It was like a warm New Year's Eve day. No, so we see Harry as he's walking around. He's having an ice cream on this 75-degree day.
I hate your
through
guts.
New York.
I hate your guts.
Honestly, he's in a light jacket. He's having some ice cream. Like, it can't be colder than 60 degrees outside.
You underestimate the weather in which I can eat ice cream.
As he's walking, he turns up at the Arc de Triomphe, where Sally drops him off in the beginning of the movie. And when he sees it, he recalls that moment. And it's not so much an inner monologue as it is he's remembering their conversation about men and women not being able to be friends because the sex thing always gets in the way.
Yeah.
Once it's out there.
Oh, no. Call the police. It's out there.
What are we going to do? So... And here's the spot where they pretty much say bye to each other and bye to this friendship that they can't have because he has made a pass at her. Essentially, when she dropped him off there, they thought they were never going to see each other again. I'm never going to deal with this person again.
Yeah.
And how far they've come from that drop off to today, where they broke off their friendship again, but they've been through so much and now he's different. And now he sees her differently.
Yes.
And so he starts to replay this conversation in his head. Frank Sinatra's version of It Had to Be You starts to play in the background.
Stop. I'll start crying.
Goosebumps. I'm watching a rom-com. I don't know why I'm getting goosebumps, but it's Frank Sinatra. It Had to Be You on New Year's night in New York City as our main characters coming to the realization that I need to go get my girl. Like, I need to fix this.
And in what you just mentioned about him having this flashback to when she dropped him off, right? Like 10 years prior, 11 years prior. You know, he made a pass at her. He's also very like, meh, dark, macho, tough guy. Like Brooklyn soft boy, whatever. And...
Wait, hold on. Macho, tough guy.
Brooklyn soft boy.
Brooklyn soft boy.
They all coexist.
Okay.
Systemic issues are
They're
all
the
related.
same person. They're interchangeable.
They're together. It's components of the same person. So it's like he's realizing, one, I'm a doofus. period, full stop. But 2, I wasn't ready for her then. Does that make sense? Like,
they wouldn't have gone anywhere had they tried back then. They didn't have the maturity.
But it's more I think more on his behalf of like, he was the one I think that had to do the most growing, because Sally changes not as significantly as Harry. Harry does a big change throughout the course of the movie. Sally does like small incremental changes, because honestly, Sally's pretty much baked from the moment that we meet her. She's kind of the person that she is, and she never insists on changing herself. She never feels the need to be different or much different. Like, she criticizes herself from time to time the way anybody does, but she has a lot of integrity. So the person who is instead coming around to making this big, like, seismic shift in his mind is Harry.
He has the biggest development arc.
Yes.
And he realizes that at the arc. Someone get chacal. Fuera.
Fuera. Anyway.
Oh, man. So Harry starts to run. He tries to catch a cab, can't catch a cab, keeps running.
Yeah.
And they cut back to Sally having a terrible time at the party. And they cut back to Harry running. You know he's running to her. He's running to go get his girl. And they cut to Sally, and she's trying to leave the party. And she's got tears in her eyes. She's like, I can't do this. Like, I wasn't emotionally ready to come to this party by myself. And seeing people having a good time and coupled up. And, you know, she literally says to Marie as she's trying to leave, and they're convincing her, yo, just stay. She's like,
no,
with tears in her eyes. The thought of not kissing somebody, she just can't deal.
I want to interject here and just say, like, I don't understand this social pressure to kiss somebody at midnight on New Year's Eve. That's the subject of so many rom-com premises and things like that. And I, for the life of me, do not understand why that's such a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess having somebody, starting the new year with somebody, having somebody to hug and say Happy New Year. I mean, I never really understood that either, but it always seems to be such a big plot point.
I think it must have something to do with like the way you start your year or the way you end your year or something like that is indicative of how the following year will go.
Like, maybe if you end your year kissing somebody, you had a good year.
Right. But like, no, we all know that's not fucking true.
Right.
If somebody understands that a little better and wants to like tell us, please. But
is that an American thing?
Maybe it's an American thing. I've never gotten so far on that.
Always seems to be the plot point. Like having a date on Valentine's Day is like having somebody to kiss on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, having a date on Valentine's Day, somebody to kiss on New Year's Eve. How about we all fucking relax, wait till the day after the holiday, get all the candy. Shut up. Like, Valentine's Day candy on sale the 15th? Sign me up,
Hello.
Baby.
That's the best time of the year.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
I think it's more about the fact that she's at this party, everybody's coupled up, and she's not. She's with some bland dude. She starts to walk out. And also, she never gets to count down for New Year's. And it really bothers me.
Let Sally count down.
Let her count down for New Year's. Why does she always miss the countdown? That's why you're there. You're there to count down. And you're not doing the counting down. It almost feels like incomplete. I'm unsatisfied because she didn't get to count down and say 3, 2, 1, Happy New Year. So she starts to walk out. And as she's walking out, Harry runs in. And they catch each other. And again, they do so much with, they're great actors. The body language right away on Sally is like, she sees Harry, and it's almost like she squares up. She almost straightens up her shoulders, like bracing herself for some dumb shit he's about to say.
All my training has led me to this point.
or almost like squaring up to prepare to reject the shit out of this man one more time. To prepare to tell him to go fuck himself again. Like, she's ready for the bullshit. Let's go.
Let's get my fists ready.
He pretty much just sees her and just goes, I've been doing a lot of thinking. And the thing is, I love you. And she's just like, what the fuck am I supposed to say to that?
Which listen, that's a reaction.
She's exasperated.
For the gods. I love that. You know how fucking annoyed I would be if person I was into who was hell-bent on not being into me came and found me after a stressful day and was like, no, I love you. I'd be like, are you fucking serious? Scram.
After all the shit, after all the stupid voicemails you left me, after we were on the phone and you tried to apologize and didn't really.
Yeah.
Now, today, you want to show up and tell me you love me? What the fuck am I supposed to say to that? And Harry's like, how about that you love me too? Because he's sure in his motherfucking mind that she loves him too. And that irks me as well.
I do hate that he's right. So
he is right.
Yeah. I fucking hate when men are right. But you know what they say about broken clocks?
To her, he's just spitting game. Like He risen.
Christ, he is risen. But instead of risen like Easter, it's riz.
And she's like, it doesn't work that way. It's not that easy. You can't just come in here and expect for you to say this and then everything's fine. Then he goes off and pretty much lists all the things he loves about her. And probably all the things he's missed for the past month, 2 months, however long it's been. And makes his case. It's not because it's New Year's Eve. It's not because I'm lonely. It's because I realize I want to spend the rest of my life with you. And when you realize you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible.
This line is iconic.
Iconic.
It's absolutely, it's a phenomenal
line.
It
doesn't feel cheesy.
His delivery's perfect.
It encompasses what you feel for them because it's just been too long. It's such a great line. The writing is so spectacular.
Good. So fucking good.
I came here tonight because when you realize you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible.
I think another thing that kind of adds to how convincing this line is that he's like half angry as he's delivering it.
Yeah, he's almost like annoyed with her.
Because he's like, can you fucking believe me for a second? Jesus.
Right. Take me seriously.
Right.
I'm being truthful.
For once in my fucking life, I'm being serious.
For once in my life, I'm being serious. And we're all Sally.
Yes.
We're all like, God damn it.
Fuck.
Fine, you won. Fuck. You won me over. Okay. You made it impossible for me to hate you, is her response.
Yeah.
And I really, really hate you. She hates that she loves him as much as she does. She hates that he hurt her.
Yeah.
And she hates that even after he hurt her, she's there open and ready to accept this man and this relationship. I hate you, Harry.
I really hate you.
And his face
is so good in this part.
Good. And it's not even like it gets me because you don't expect. I mean, it's Billy Crystal. He's charming.
Yeah, he's charming.
I don't really necessarily find him attractive, but he does this face during this scene where it's like it's melt.
I get it.
Oh, I get it.
Like I could see it. I get it.
And then they kiss.
Yeah.
To Old Lang Syne.
And I love this song.
The meaning of this song is so touching. And it's funny because they make it a point to like kind of make fun of it a little bit. When like they pull apart from their kiss and Harry's like, what does this song mean? Like, what is this about? But Old Lang Syne is such like a nostalgic song.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's what it is. It's nostalgic. So it originated from Scottish folk song. Mm-hmm. And the title directly translates to old long since. Interpreting it, it's since long ago or for old time's sake. So the lyrics are about old friends having a drink and recalling their past adventures. The perfection of having this story based on old friends revolve around fall and to culminate at New Year's with like the meaning behind that song. Like it's almost poetic.
It's good writing.
It's so good.
Guys, if you listen to us, first of all, thank you. That's really cool. You should keep doing it. But the last movie that we did not well written. So coming into a movie where the script is like bam, 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 nothing
It's
missed.
impeccable.
And the framing of the story, the script wastes nothing. We love it. We love it. It is good. It is a great fucking script. And just a well-crafted story and just great delivery from the actors all around.
Chef's kiss, no notes.
No notes.
We come to the end of our movie, and the final couple interviewed before the closing credits is Harry and Sally.
Oh.
And now they're telling us about their love story that we just heard, that we just watched happen.
Mm-hmm.
And you learn that they got married 3 months later. Exactly 12 years and 3 months after they first met. And so Sally lets us know that they had a delicious coconut cake with the chocolate sauce on the side.
Because not everyone, because as Harry interjects,
as Harry clarifies,
not everyone's going to want the chocolate sauce on the top. So you want to have it on the side, and then you can control how much chocolate sauce you get.
Right. And then the coconut flakes get
all soggy.
Yeah. So you start to see Harry starting to adopt some of Sally's habits, and it's really cute. I mean, in this relationship, she definitely has the more dominating personality.
Yeah.
So I can totally see in like a couple years, Harry's like ordering like she does.
That'd be so funny.
And it's just, again, chef's kiss, no notes. Awesome movie. This is one of my top comfort movies.
Yes.
For this season.
It's this one and Pride and Prejudice for you, I think.
And You've Got Mail.
Okay. This one, You've Got Mail, and Pride and Prejudice.
And The Hunger Games.
You make sense. Make you make sense.
I don't make sense.
Good Lord.
I don't.
Fucking.
So, especially this time of year, like this right now, like this, like November, where we're kind of getting to the end of fall. We're getting ready to celebrate the holidays, because even it kind of just goes through all the seasons. So it culminates everything we feel in this time of year. I feel like you got a little cheer, you got a little fun, you got a little nostalgia. Okay, Nadja. So our wrap up. We can't do book or movie. This is an original screenplay. An exquisite original screenplay.
Fabulous.
They should make a book about this screenplay. How about that?
Dude, no, I don't think an author would be able to do it justice. Not without Nora Ephron.
I think there is a printed version of the screenplay, though, that you can have. Let me see.
Me specifically. From you. Thank you. Merry Christmas to me.
Would your husband watch this with you?
Absolutely. Ryan fucking loves this movie.
Ariel will watch this movie with me. He'll sit with me at least twice a year.
Aw, because Paola does watch this every other week, so...
This time of year, it's part of the comfort movie
rotation, if you will.
And maybe I'll watch it like 5 or 6 times through the season.
Yeah.
He'll probably sit with me once willingly, and
Dad watched the second time.
And then Dad watched the second time.
Yeah.
On a scale from 1 to ardently admire and love, how do you feel about this movie?
Dog, it's a 9 or a 10. Easy.
I'm going to go with, I want to say 10, but I take issues with 2 parts of the movie, and it knocks me down a full half a point. So I'm going to say 9.5.
9.5. All right. I'm going to do a 9.5.
There's no trauma here.
Yeah, no, there's no generational trauma.
No. This is a nice, chill, let's just have a giggle and watch. This is comfort movie.
Tell me, do you think they stay together?
I do think they stay together. Harry's already been through a divorce.
That's true.
Is he going to be a second divorcee? I don't think so. I think they did the work. They did the work before they got romantically involved, as in they set the baseline for their friendship. I am of the opinion that relationships or marriages that evolved from a friendship are strong, because you always have that to go back to. Marriages go through so many phases. In times of doubt, you always have your companion, your friends, that, regardless of the valleys and peaks that your romantic relationship goes through, you always have that friend to fall back on. I think they did the work before. And I think that's why they were able to get married in 3 months.
Well, yeah, because it was like, well, I already know you and I've loved you probably for longer than I'm willing to admit. So
they communicated well. I mean, it wasn't really until the tension of them having had sex and then not really knowing where to go from there. Right? Outside of that, they always communicated clearly. You know, they knew each other so well.
I think they stay together. Can men and women be friends? Yeah, fucking obviously. Like, I don't think the movie disproves that men and women can be friends.
Yes. And you know, Nora Ephron actually says, she says, the movie was never about answering that question. It was about showing how different men and women are, or how different men and women can be in how they perceive friendship and relationships. It's not meant to answer your question, but to the point of the movie that we just recapped, I mean, it starts off by one of the main characters saying, hey, men and women can't be friends because sex is always gonna get in the way. And ultimately, that's exactly what happened between him and Sally. So I don't want to say the movie proves him right, but pertaining to their specific relationship, it's exactly what happened. Also, another movie that would be really great to watch if you love When Harry Met Sally and you love its pacing and the way they do the storytelling, I would highly recommend Brown Sugar. It's such a great movie. It has a lot of parallels. It's another one of my comfort films that I watch almost simultaneously in the same season with When Harry Met Sally because the tones are so similar. It still has an autumnal feel. The storytelling is very similar where they're kind of telling side stories, kind of like the way Harry Met Sally injects the stories about like older couples. Brown Sugar does that with music. And I mean, and you know, we're big music fans. So that part of it adds life to the story. And especially, you know, one of our big things with When Harry Met Sally, or pretty much any rom-com set in the 90s or late 90s, early 2000s, Brown Sugar has an all-black cast. It's really awesome to watch because it's like one of those movies that it's a rom-com, but it's also there for representation and showing love and appreciation to the culture. So awesome movie. Definitely recommend if you're looking for something similar to When Harry Met Sally for this time of year. And it also goes through the seasons. Like, it's mostly set in autumn. Some of their pivotal moments happen around New Year's too. So there's a lot of parallels that I find when I watch it, and I enjoy it. And for the Meg Ryan fans, she has a new movie that came out. Earlier this month. What Happens Later. It has not gotten great reviews. We haven't seen it yet, but we hope to try to get to see it now that we're together for the holiday week. If you guys have seen it or have anything to say about it, let us know. Hit us up through email or through our IG. And let us know what you think about it. We would love to hear your thoughts. We hope to be able to get to see it this weekend and see what the hype or the non-hype it's about.
Thank you so much for listening. Engage with us on social media. Find us at Sisflix Podcast on Instagram and on TikTok. Send us an email at sisflixpodcast@gmail.com and let us know your thoughts. And if you like what you've heard or you want to hear more, please leave a rating or a review on any of your podcast listening platforms. They help boost our moods and they help other people find us. Thank you so much. Bye.